Hello everyone, InKensify here. I think this is the first time I'm actually going to be commentating over a video, so here we go. So on Abyss difficulty, this series of boss fights is an absolute pain in the ass on a fresh run, and even more so if you're trying to get the bonus RP. So I'm here to show you all my general setup and strategies so you can preserve your sanity, because I kind of lost all of mine on my first playthrough. First things first, let's go over the equipment. The game will give you a bunch of U material at the start, so go ahead and upgrade everybody's weapons first. Now for Rean, I do believe these accessories are from having clear data of Trails of Cold Steel, but don't fret if you don't have it, all hope is not lost. What you can do instead is purchase these Kagemaru belts from the Ornament Shop in Ymir. They do give plus 2% evasion, and it's probably the best thing we can actually get at this stage in the game. So go ahead and just buy 2 of those for Kurt and 2 for Rean if you don't happen to have the clear bonus data. Now for the Master Quartz, go ahead and give everyone Yuna's Scald for their sub slot. Breaking is probably going to be the biggest key to our success here, so go ahead and just toss that on everybody. Now as far as the quartz go, the first things you should probably do is probably upgrade Rean's action to level 2, Kurt's evasion to level 2, and Altina's spirit quartz to level 2 first. After that, you could probably upgrade Rean's strength or crit quartz. I personally chose strength. It really depends on what you want. After that, you could probably upgrade his hit quartz for some extra crit as well. And if you can afford a break damage quartz, by all means, please, I do suggest you make one and toss it on either Rean, Yuna, Kurt, or Ash. I actually didn't have one since I couldn't afford it, but if you can, go ahead and make one, toss it on one of those 4. Everything else is mostly standard since we don't have much separates to work with this early in the game, so once you have those, I think you're basically set. Okay, so for Claire, this is a very RNG heavy dependent fight because of a lot of varying factors that need to go your way as far as my method goes. So at the start of the fight, what I like to do is cast Noir Crystal. This will give Yuna some time to self buff as well as slowly inching Claire down. Yuna can't get back to 4 BP on her own, so I'm either banking on Altina landing a link attack or BP turn order bonus. If she manages to do this, you can start casting Needle Shot with Altina. Now at this point, Yuna should be fully buffed and you should be on a fresh Noir Crystal. You could probably poke her break gauge down a little bit with a cross break, then proceed to cast Needle Shot with Yuna as well. Now it gets a little tricky at the end. I highly suggest you don't burst her down with Astrocrafts until she's as close to 175k HP as possible. Otherwise she will just go into enhanced state and heal herself, and you don't really want that to happen. Now at some point near the end of the fight, if your turn order looks good, I highly suggest you take the time to use a turn to use a Brave Soul to restore your BP back to full. You'll thank me later. And that should be it for the Claire fight. It's going to take a lot of trial and error, a lot of frustration, but it's a very reliable strategy that has worked for me. I hope it'll work for you. Now for the first Matteus fight, the reason we buff up Kurt's evasion is because we need him to survive for as long as possible to help Rean with damage. Ideally, you can finish this fight before Rean's spirit unification is over.
し。覚悟はいいか。砕け散る。崩れた。ヴァンガールが創建。とくと味わえ。行くぞ。とどめだ。はあ。ラグナーストライク。前。
You don't really need to do anything specific to assure a victory since this is a very quick rush, but I highly urge you to end the battle with 4 or more BP for a second fight, where it actually really matters.
Vangard が創建。とく行くぞ。おめだ。ラグナーストライク。万物無天。無は優にして。1、2、3、4、5、6、7、8を一等。無人権。こんなものか。
Now for the second Matteus fight, this is where things get a little tricky. He will always go after Rean at the beginning, so in a perfect start, ideally Rean will survive, which gives you some extra turns to play with. But in my case here, he does not. Now whoever goes first, go ahead and cast Noir Crystal with them, take his first turn to revive Rean with his arrow.
Yes.
行きますね。あとはお願いします。任せて。
Now for my setup, I cast Valiant Rage plus Valiant Rage and then Volcanic Hunt for the full strength bonus for the party. Also, before you cast Volcanic Hunt, you probably want to switch out Muse for so she gets the buff. Now, you probably don't need to start your burst as early as I did here. Mathias will likely just use 2 normals, so it's relatively safe to just do a few extra turns of poke if you feel comfortable doing that. Now when you do feel comfortable starting your rush down, make sure you have Unistor's Hammer active so he can stay in a broken state whenever he does happen to recover, but you probably want to let him enhance first when he reaches halfway so you don't need to worry about it later.
ぞ。おめせ烈光陣ホムラ前。ヴァンダールが創建。
You could also probably down him if you got a couple lucky crits in, but in my case here I didn't. Now, if you didn't finish the fight and he wipes your team like he did here, you still have Altina and Muse available to finish the job, hopefully. Also, you can use your spirit incentive if you'd like, so everyone gets EXP at the end. And there you go. Now you should have an extra 8 RP that is very, very difficult to obtain. Now for the Magic Knight, this is an insanely frustrating fight if you go in prepared, so I'm here to show you what you can do so you don't tear your brains out trying to fight this thing. But first, let's go over team setup. Now for the team setup, I went with Rean, Yuna, Kurt, and Claire. You could also just switch Claire with Muse if you'd like. It really depends on your personal preferences. Now for tactics, you want to set them up like this. You want Rean and Kurt to be at the front, and then you want to push Yuna and Claire or Muse all the way to the back corners. Because in their default position, the Magic Knight will initially attack everybody, including Yuna and Muse. So you want to push them back, that way they don't get hit, and then that should be all for the tactics screen. Now with that being said, Rean and Kurt will become the tanks, but Kurt is kind of too paper to tank efficiently, so we kind of have to remedy that first. At this point, you should have a lot more U material to work with, so I highly suggest you make a Silver Charm for Kurt for that extra HP and defensive stats, and a clear bandana for some added evasion, or you can just make another Silver Charm if you don't want to go the evasion route. Yuna is essentially just here to provide defensive support to the entire team and some BP if necessary, but you just want to make sure she has La Crest on her, because this thing does apply over a larger range as opposed to the one from her Master Quartz. That way, when you go to apply this, it should be able to reach Rean and Kurt at the same time. Now for your Claire or Muse slot, they will also provide additional support and can cast arts for additional damage, so you probably want to set them up as an arts user, but make sure they are using Yuna's Scold as their sub, as the Magic Knight is weakest to Earth. Beyond that, I do suggest you give everybody an action and or upgrade their current action to level 1. That way there is some speed so they can at least kind of keep up with the Magic Knight. So at the start of the Magic Knight fight, it puts up 3 shields in an anti-order, which is honestly insane. thankfully we have Rean available to disable the shield and Kurt to remove the anti-order with his self buff. Now what you want to do here is with the formation, you want to create a front with Rean and Kurt. That way he cannot get past them to get to Yuna and Claire. They should be the two people tanking, and once you have done this, you should be in a good position. At this point, you should just be maintaining a defense buff on Rean and Kurt with Yuna, and your fourth supporting as necessary. Also make sure to keep up Rean's Black Tortoise formation order to mitigate as much damage as you can. The only thing that can really mess you up at this point is its AoE magic attack, since it can feint on hit and it does a lot of damage. So just hope you don't get caught with your pants down. It does a total of 3 anti-orders, so don't burn through Kurt's CP that quickly until those are all exhausted. If you have survived past that point, just stay the course and you should be able to take down the Magic Knight with relative ease. Also, you do have Valiant Rage, so you can use that to heal if you are in a very dire situation. I hope this guide was useful to you all. On my first playthrough, I spent a very rough 5 to 6 hours of trial and error trying to get past these fights. It was not fun. I honestly kind of went insane. But now, with some proper planning, I can pass them with relative ease. Now, if you guys are interested in some more commentary guides, I'll be happy to make some. Let me know in the comments down below what you'd like to see, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Also, consider joining the community on my Discord, where we can chat about anything and everything. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.